The stars above Thalxara were unlike any Alaric had seen. They shimmered in alien constellations, some spiraling, some drifting like lazy fireflies across a sea of violet mist. Thalxara's air was sweet and heavy, humming with distant voices and strange music that never had a source. The planet spun slower than Earth, and the days stretched endlessly, colored by twin suns that never set at the same time. It had been 84 Earth days since King Alaric of Britain landed on this world. No one welcomed him. Not the tall, scaled beings that moved like wind-blown silk through the city of Glamora. Not the merchants with their glowing wares, nor the shadowed guards with silver blades like feathers. They saw him. They acknowledged his presence. But none spoke to him, not in sound, nor in gesture. Alaric came for one reason, to purchase a slave. Not out of cruelty, nor madness, nor arrogance. He came seeking something human life had long denied him, sincerity. In Thalxara, they said slaves did not lie, because their souls were bare noxion. What he sought was a creature bound not in chains, but in truth. A companion, perhaps. A mirror. A voice untainted by court games, veils, or crowns. He offered gold, jewels, and ancient coins. He even offered the scepter of Avalon. The Thalxari ignored him all the same. By the 40th day, the king had started speaking to the city itself, whispering in doorways, reciting monologues in the market center, hoping someone, anyone, would speak back. By the 60th, he began to sleep beneath a tree with glass-like leaves, a sapphire wolf at his side, gifted to him by a silent child with eyes like candles. By the 82nd day, he decided to leave. Then, on the 83rd, a voice emerged. "You are not as stubborn as they said," rasped a figure behind a veil of woven shadows. "But perhaps still stupid enough." Alaric turned, slowly, carefully. The figure wore no face, just a shimmer where features should be. Genderless, ageless, ancient. "You have something to sell?" Alaric asked. The merchant tilted its head. "I do, but not what you expect. Is it alive? It breathes. It listens. Sometimes it sings." "What price?" The figure's hand emerged, long and translucent, like a ripple in space, and pointed toward Alaric's belt. "The coin from your pocket. The one with the lion roaring at the moon." Alaric paused. He drew the coin slowly, heavy with age and memory. His mother's last gift, carved from a lost empire. He gave it away without a word. The merchant turned and beckoned. Alaric followed into the alleys behind the market, past breathing walls and murmuring vines. At last, in a narrow chamber lit by the faint glow of floating orbs, the merchant stopped. There, in a cage of scentless smoke, sat the creature. It was hunched, shivering, skin the color of rot and soot, limbs long and too thin, eyes hidden beneath matted gray hair. Ugly by any standard, pitiful by every measure. Alaric's throat tightened. He'd come to find beauty in honesty. "Not this. I don't understand," he whispered. The merchant said only, "It will not lie to you. That is the most anyone can promise." Alaric's heart, weary and cracked, whispered leave. But something deeper, some strange gravity, held him still. "I'll take it. No papers. No farewells." The merchant vanished with the coin, and Alaric led the creature to his ship. His guards didn't question him. The crew barely looked. They were used to the king's strange moods, his endless seeking. It was on the ramp of the ship, just before it closed, that the creature spoke. Its voice was raw silk, worn but melodic, a whisper with warmth. "Take me with you," it said. "I will make you happy." Alaric turned, stunned. The creature stood taller now, though still hunched. Its eyes were bright beneath the filth, two small stars blinking from a storm. "I paid for you," Alaric said softly. The creature nodded. "Then let me serve the purpose you bought." The words twisted something in him, a sorrowful, almost foolish hope. He gave a weary smile and gestured forward. The slave entered the ship. The journey back began in silence. Stars bent around the hull as Earth grew nearer. Alaric sat alone in the observation chamber, gazing out. The creature, his slave, sat in the farthest corner, quiet and still. He found he could not look at it for long. 2 days into the voyage, the creature approached him. "May I speak freely?" it asked. "You may. I do not wish to frighten you." "You've already done that," Alaric said. "But say your truth." The creature lowered its head. "I was not sold to you as I am." He stood slowly. "What are you?" "Still myself, but not as you see." Then the shift began. The body unfolded, unfolded, like a flower shedding winter. Skin sloughed away like smoke, revealing radiant pink beneath. Hair fell in silken strands down her back, long and warm brown. Her eyes, icy blue, enormous, met his without shame. Her ears were pointed, tipped with soft fur. A tail, delicate and curling, shimmered behind her like spun silver. Alaric's mouth parted. Words failed. "I'm Soyera," she said. "My father tried to wed me to a monster. I ran. I hid beneath dirt and spell. That merchant knew what I was. He sold me to you in mercy." Alaric's voice, when it came, was soft. "Why reveal yourself now?" "Because you were kind. Because your sadness was louder than your crown. Because I wish to make you happy." He stepped closer, chest burning. "Then let me make you mine. Let's forget the price. Let me give you what you gave me, truth." Soyera looked down, her cheeks colored like dawn. "You have paid my price. I am yours. Do whatever you wish." And so began a tale, not of purchase, but of hearts, unknowing that a war was already stirring in the stars. Space stretched endlessly around them, a quiet ocean of stars bleeding into blackness. King Alaric stood at the edge of the observation dome, his eyes fixed on nothing and everything. Behind him, the ship hummed softly, the sound of a vessel designed for war, gliding now like a ghost between galaxies. Earth lay 2 weeks away. Time passed slowly in space, like an old man telling stories too carefully. He wasn't thinking about Earth, or his throne, or his council, who would scold him for his alien obsession and his impulsive purchases. He was thinking about her. The slave, no, Soyera, had not spoken since revealing herself. She kept to the inner corridors of the ship, mostly near the gardens in the lower chamber. There, where starlight filtered through crystal glass and vines of Earth's ivy climbed iron frames. She stood for hours, staring at petals and leaves as if she'd never seen them before. Alaric hadn't approached her since. He was afraid, not of her beauty, but of the weight that came with it. She had transformed from a creature of shadow and ash into something otherworldly. Her skin shimmered like moonlight on fresh snow. Her tail flicked when she was curious. Her voice, when she spoke, sounded like water running over smooth stones. But she was quiet now, always watching, always waiting. On the 5th day, she came to him. He sat in his chamber, reading old texts from Earth, poems of Neruda, verses from Sappho, old, aching love. The door whispered open, and Soyera stepped inside. She was wrapped in one of the ship's cloaks, simple and gray, the hood resting on her shoulders. Her tail curled around her ankles like a nervous child. Alaric looked up. He said nothing. "I did not mean to deceive you," she began. "I know." She stepped closer, her hands clasped at her waist. "I only meant to survive." "I know that too." A silence passed between them. Not cold, just full. Then she sat beside him, slowly, carefully. "This ship is strange. It sings, even when you don't listen." He smiled faintly. "So does Earth. But most people forget how. I hope I never forget." Her eyes wandered across his face. "You are different from what I expected." I could say the same. Another pause. Then she asked the question neither of them had dared speak aloud. "Why did you buy me?" Alaric closed the book. "I didn't come looking for a servant," he said. "I came looking for honesty. For something unfiltered. Something that didn't want my crown, or my kingdom, or my name. And you thought a slave would be that. I thought a soul with no choice might be free of lies." Soyera tilted her head, intrigued. "That is a strange kind of hope. It's the only kind I have left." She leaned back, letting her hair spill over the cushions like ribbons. "Then let me ask you something in return. Anything." She turned toward him. "If you could fall in love, truly and purely, with someone who was not yours, would you still want them?" He blinked. "What do you mean, if love was not returned?" If it couldn't be, would you still choose it? His heart tightened. I already have. The word surprised even him. Solyera stared at him a moment, her lips parting slightly. Then she looked down. I was promised to a creature with no heart. A war beast. A monster in form and soul. My father thought a union would bring power. I thought it would bring death. So I ran. You were right to run, he said quietly. I lost everything. My name, my world, my future. I traded them for freedom. She looked at him now, searching, vulnerable. And now I'm here, given as a prize to a man who asked for truth. So I ask you, Alaric, what truth do you want from me? He stood, suddenly overwhelmed. I want to know if you could ever love me. She stood too. Slowly, she stepped toward him until her voice was a whisper. You want the impossible, she said. Is it so impossible? Solyera's expression softened. Her hand brushed his cheek, warm, trembling. I care for you, she said. More than I thought I could care for anyone not of my kind. But not love, he said, nearly choking. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But not because of who you are. Because of what I've lost. I don't have a heart to give. Alaric closed his eyes. The silence returned. But now it was heavy, pressing. I'm sorry, she whispered. You don't need to be. Then she did something he didn't expect. She reached up, kissed his forehead gently, and held him. It wasn't passion. It wasn't romance. It was comfort, and it nearly broke him. That night, he walked the ship in darkness, his reflection trailing in the steel floors. His thoughts were spirals. Longing, regret, wonder, grief. She had offered him more than beauty. She had given him her honesty, her truth, and it was not what he wanted, but it was more than most ever offered him. From the highest deck, he watched the stars again. Solyera joined him, silent, her presence like wind. Tell me, she said, what makes Earth beautiful? He smiled, though hurt. Sometimes just the rain. She looked up. I hope I see it someday, she whispered. You will, he said. I'll show you. She nodded, and neither of them spoke of love again. Not yet, but far away, in the dark corners of space, something stirred. Solyera's father had learned of her disappearance, and the price of peace had already begun to rise. The Earth looked smaller than Solyera had imagined. From orbit, its oceans glittered like tears beneath clouds that curled like smoke over its skin. She pressed her fingers against the glass of the Royal Observatory, eyes wide, tail still behind her. Though the ship's descent was gentle, her heart beat in quiet panic. Below lay a world that didn't belong to her. King Alaric stood a few paces behind, watching her, not as one watches a treasure, but as one watches a flame they're afraid to smother. Your planet sings louder than I thought, she whispered. Alaric gave a soft smile. Wait until it rains. The royal landing was done in secret. Alaric's orders were clear. No announcement, no ceremony. Only his most trusted guards and his steward knew of Solyera's arrival. The rest of the court thought he'd returned from Thalxa empty-handed, mad as ever, chasing cosmic ghosts. The palace had changed while he was gone. The halls felt colder. The portraits stared more sharply. Whispers filled corners like dust. Alaric walked them silently, Solyera a shadow behind him. He had prepared a wing for her. High towers, gardens that bloomed under artificial starlight, and a great domed library that smelled of cedar and forgotten stories. She touched everything like it might vanish. This is not a prison, he told her gently. She turned, a strange look in her eyes. But it is a cage. He didn't argue. In public, Solyera remained unseen. In private, she and the king spoke often. Of stars, of music, of pain. She played a Thalxari stringed instrument, fingers light, her voice drifting in strange scales that made Alaric's throat tighten. He wrote her poems, but never read them aloud. He painted her once, but burned it when it felt too close to truth. Every morning, he brought her something new, orchids that blinked, a telescope tuned to a violet nebula, a mirror made from frozen starlight. She smiled, always gently, always kindly, but never in the way he hoped. One night, after a dinner where neither ate much, Alaric sat by the fire in her chambers, fingers steepled. Have you ever loved anyone? He asked. Solyera looked up from her perch on the window seat, her eyes silver in the moonlight. I once thought I did, but I was young, and the heart lies easiest to its owner. I know that kind of lie, he said. And you? She asked. I've loved many, he admitted. None who stayed. Soliera nodded slowly. Perhaps they weren't meant to. He met her gaze, bold but wounded. But what if you are? She didn't flinch. She didn't look away. I care for you, Alaric. I respect you. You've given me more kindness than anyone from my own world. But love, true love, does not bloom from gratitude. It cannot be gifted. It has to grow wild. And if it never does, he asked quietly, then I will still sing for you, sit beside you, and walk in your gardens until the stars fall. He gave her a smile that tried too hard to be strong. That is a beautiful kind of sorrow. She tilted her head, or a sorrowful kind of beauty. The days passed. Soliera wandered the palace more now. The staff grew used to the soft sound of her tail brushing marble, her quiet questions about Earth's oddities, cats, tea, clouds. Some servants adored her. Others feared her. Rumors spread like oil. The king had brought back a witch, a goddess, a slave. No one dared speak of it aloud, but every glance carried weight. Still, she remained kind. She listened. She learned. But she never belonged. Then, one morning, the sky changed. The clouds above the city twisted into unnatural spirals, and the Earth's magnetic field cried out in frequencies only the palace sentinels could hear. The stars blinked. Machines groaned. And above the Atlantic, a great shape emerged, black, winged, silent. Valkyrie warcraft. It came alone, but the message was deafening. The court gathered in terror. Ministers screamed treason. The High Council demanded answers. And Alaric stood at the throne with a calm forged in heartbreak. They've come for her, he said. Soliera stood beside him, unreadable. Her face bore no fear, only exhaustion. They think I was taken, she said quietly. They think I was enslaved. My father will not believe otherwise. We can explain, Alaric said. No, he doesn't listen. He only conquers. The warship broadcast a single message, heard by every satellite and city. Return the princess or prepare for war. That night, in the garden, beneath trees that had bloomed for no one but her, Soliera stood barefoot in the grass. Alaric approached, 1,000 thoughts weighing him down. She turned before he spoke. I have to go. I won't let them take you. If I stay, your people will suffer. I'll protect you. I'll fight for you. She smiled, and for a moment, it looked like sadness wore a crown. You've done more than enough. You gave me a name again. You gave me gentleness. But now I must give peace. Alaric reached for her hand. You can't leave me like this. Soliera stepped close. She placed a kiss, gentle, chaste, on his lips. This, she whispered, is not love. But it is gratitude. It is memory. He closed his eyes. I would give you my kingdom. She stepped back. Then give your kingdom peace. And before dawn, she was gone, surrendering herself to the stars to stop a war that had not yet begun. Alaric watched her vanish into the sky, the weight of unspoken love clawing at his chest. He had not won her heart, but he had held it for a moment. And in a world full of lies, that was almost enough. The throne of Thalxara was carved from the bones of stars. It rose from the obsidian ground like a monolith, bathed in red light from twin suns that scorched the horizon. Soldiers lined the chamber, their armor black and humming, their gazes fixed forward as though their king's fury might turn them to ash. He sat unmoving, massive, horned, a silhouette of menace beneath silver armor etched with centuries of war. His name was Zorvexer, and he was no longer just a king. He was a father betrayed. Before him knelt Soliera, no longer hidden by her cloak or illusions. She bore no chains, but the weight of silence hung heavier than iron. Her hair, usually wild with soft curls, now draped limp over her shoulders. Her tail barely twitched. I came willingly, she said. Zorvexer's voice was a rumble of thunder inside stone. You came tainted. Soliera closed her eyes. I came to stop a war, and instead you invite shame. The warlord rose. His steps echoed across the obsidian court. You vanished from our world to consort with humans. You allowed yourself to be bought. I saved myself from a monster you could try to bind me to. I try to protect our bloodline. Zorvexa roared. And you repay me by lying with Earth's king? Solyera lifted her chin, defiant. I never lied with him. But even if I had, I would not be ashamed. The guard stirred. Zorvexa stepped down from his throne, towering over her. His breath steamed in the cold air between them. You are no longer heir, he growled. You are no longer daughter. She blinked, but did not cry. Then strike me down, and let your people see the kind of king you truly are. He stared at her for a long, dangerous moment. Then he turned. I will not kill you, he said coldly. I will use you. Back on Earth, the silence was worse than war. Alaric sat in his war chamber, surrounded by maps and blinking screens. Advisors shouted about alien demands, missile codes, planetary defenses. Earth had never faced a threat like this. Even the lunar colonies had gone dark, preparing for the worst. And Alaric, king, commander, beloved by billions, felt utterly alone. She gave herself up to save us, he said quietly. Yes, said Commander Stannis. And now they will use her to destroy us anyway. A week had passed since Solyera left. The skies had stayed quiet, but intelligence drones had tracked the Thalxari fleet amassing just outside Mars' orbit. Hundreds of black ships gathering in silence, casting long shadows across the sun. They want us to fear, said Alaric. They want us to submit, Stannis replied. Alaric stood, turning to the great window overlooking the gardens she once walked. Her footprints were still faintly visible in the dew. He pressed his fingers against the glass. I'm going to bring her back. You're going to what? I don't believe she went willingly, Alaric said. I saw her face. She was protecting us. But she's not safe. Stannis stepped forward, urgent. If you go to them now, you'll be walking into death. We need you here. We need leadership. Your people will have peace, Alaric said firmly. Because I'm going to buy it again. With what? He looked at her. With my crown. The ship was small, an old diplomatic cruiser, unarmed, fast, anonymous. Alaric piloted it himself, wearing no symbols of Earth, no royal markings. Just a silver ring from a world that was now too far away to protect him. He crossed into Thalxari space 3 days later, and they let him in. Zorvexa met him not on a battlefield, but in a chamber of steel and silence, where fires burned in the walls and war drums beat like a heartbeat. Alaric stepped inside, eyes burning, spine straight. I come for Sierra, he said. Zorvexa chuckled. You come empty-handed. I come with the only thing I have left. He removed the ring from his finger and let it fall to the floor. My title, my throne, my kingdom. The warlord tilted his head. You give up Earth for her? No, Alaric said. I give it up to save her. There's a difference. Zorvexa rose slowly from his throne, eyes glowing like molten steel. Tell me, little king, what will you do if I say no? Alaric stepped forward. Then kill me. But you'll have to look your daughter in the eyes as you do. For a moment, there was only the sound of fire. Then Solyera stepped from behind the curtain, her eyes wide. Alaric, he turned, and for the first time since she left, he smiled. I told you I'd show you rain, he said. Her breath caught. Zorvexa snarled. This is weakness. Solyera stepped forward, placing herself between the two kings. No, she said, voice clear. This is what you forgot. This is why our people don't follow you. They fear you. But they would follow me. Zorvexa's eyes narrowed. Are you threatening me, child? I am reminding you, she said gently, that even stars can burn out. There was a long silence. And then, shockingly, Zorvexa laughed. You have grown sharper, he said. Your tongue was your mother's. She once told me I could not rule forever. He looked at Alaric. Take her. But if war comes again, it will not be stopped with words. It will be stopped with love, Alaric said. Zorvexa scowled. Don't insult me. Alaric turned to Solyera. Are you ready to come home? She looked at her father, then at Alaric, then at the stars. And for the first time, her voice trembled. I think I am. They left Thalxara in silence. No music, no parades. Just two souls who had crossed galaxies to find each other again. When Earth came into view, Solyera touched the glass. It's raining, she said softly. and Alaric, seated beside her, whispered, "I promised." The rain had not stopped since they returned. It fell in quiet sheets across the kingdom, draping the gardens and palace towers in silver mist. The earth seemed to sigh with relief, as if the soil itself had held its breath since Solyera left. Alaric stood at the edge of the terrace, letting the rain soak into his robes. It was cold, but he didn't shiver. His crown sat idle on the stone railing beside him, untouched since their return. Behind him, Solyera stepped softly, the familiar brush of her tail on stone a sound he had come to cherish. She joined him silently, wearing a long robe the color of dusk, her damp hair braided with soft crystal beads. For a time, neither spoke. Then she asked, "Why did you give it up?" He didn't pretend to misunderstand. "The crown," he said. She nodded. "I didn't want to rule a kingdom where love was traded for power," he answered. "Where peace was always just another threat away. You gave yourself to save my people. I could do no less." "You love your people," she said. "I love you," he replied. Solyera looked out at the rain. Her voice, when it came, was gentle, "And yet I still do not love you the way you want me to." Alaric smiled sadly. I know. That silence between them was no longer painful. It had become a companion, a truth neither needed to flee from. "But you're still here," he said. "I am. And you could leave," he added. "I could." He turned to her, eyes searching her face. "Then why stay?" Solyera met his gaze. "Because I may not love you as you dream, but I do love you in the way that matters. You gave me safety. You saw me when I was nothing. You listened when even my father silenced me. If I am ever to love again, it will begin with you." That stirred something deeper than longing. Alaric didn't reach for her. He simply let those words settle like pollen in spring. "So what happens now?" he asked softly. Solyera smiled, small and real. "We begin again." The world changed slowly. News of Solyera's return spread across Earth, sparking wonder and confusion. The council demanded answers, as did the people. But Alaric no longer sat on the throne. He passed the crown to his cousin, a woman of steel and sense, who vowed to preserve peace and progress. Alaric and Solyera withdrew from the palace. They lived on the edge of the southern isles, in a quiet stone estate surrounded by orchards and sea. No guards, no servants, just books, gardens, music, and rain. Some called it exile. Others called it cowardice. But to them it was a gift. Solyera began teaching, not in schools, but in the open. Children came to her to learn about stars and stories, about kindness and strength. She never spoke of war. She never spoke of what her father had taken from her. But the sadness in her eyes taught enough. Alaric wrote again. Poetry returned to his hands like it had been waiting. He wrote of her, never naming her, and published the verses under a forgotten name. The world read his words and wept, never knowing who they belonged to. Still, there were moments. Some nights, when the wind howled and memories rose like ghosts, he would ask her, "Would you ever marry me?" And each time, she would take his hand and whisper, "Not today," but her fingers never let go. It was 10 years later when the stars changed again. Zorvexer died, not in battle, but quietly, after a long illness. Solyera received the message through a courier ship bearing her family's crest. Her brother now ruled Thalxura, and for the first time, an invitation came not as a demand, but as a plea. "Return," it said, "not as prisoner, not as exile, as heir." Solyera sat on the sand that night, waves curling around her ankles, the letter heavy in her lap. Alaric joined her, older now, hair streaked with silver. She did not speak at first. Then she asked, "If I go, would you wait for me again?" He smiled. "I would wait 1,000 years. But you might be gone by the time I return. Then I'll be waiting in the stars." She leaned her head on his shoulder, eyes closed. "And if I stay, then I'll be grateful every day I breathe." The sea was silent for a long while. Finally, Solyera looked up at the stars. "My people need a queen," she said softly. "But I need a home." She turned to Alaric. "I've spent so long fearing love because I thought it would cost me myself. But you never asked for anything. You just waited. And in waiting, you gave me the freedom to choose." He cupped her face gently. And what do you choose? She kissed him, no longer shy, no longer hesitant. It was soft, certain, sad, and beautiful all at once. I choose us, she whispered. At last. Years passed. The stories became legend. The fairy formed alien girl, the lonely human king, a love unconsummated but never unlived. Songs were written, stars were named. Children learned their names beside constellations that whispered of peace. They died within weeks of each other. Alaric first, during a storm that blanketed the coast. Solyera followed soon after, her eyes open, gazing at a point just beyond the ceiling, as if seeing a face the rest of the world could not. They were buried together under a tree that bloomed violet in the spring, and when it rained, petals danced on the breeze, as if something unseen still whispered poetry to the wind. Epilogue. Many years later, a traveler found a single page buried beneath the roots of the violet tree. It read, "Love, even unreturned, is not wasted. It is the fire in our chest that keeps us human. It is the echo in the silence, the name in the stars. I did not marry her, but I loved her, and sometimes that is enough."